But let's go ahead and move on. Choosing the right partner, how Black women get it wrong, how it impacts the dating pool. What do you all think?
Ashley, can you explain what do you mean by how it impacts the dating pool?
So I am referring to let me just tell you my whole framework. So basically, I think that a lot of men today think that they what makes them marriage suitable is their finances, whether or not they have finances. I think that's a big part of it, but that's not all of it. I think there are other things that a lot of times Black women haven't, and not just Black women, just women in general. But I like to speak to our sisters because that's where my heart is right now. Um, a lot of times we don't put enough emphasis on those non-material things. Now, some of us do, but a lot don't. And sometimes I think that because of that, even though it's not an excuse, because of that, a lot of men think that they have leverage that they probably don't have if they're seeking to marry a woman, a certain type of woman, a woman who is marriage suitable, a woman who has prepared herself for marriage, a woman who is a lot of the things that they always say they want, submissive, kind, nurturing, all these things. And so that type of woman is looking for financial security, but not just financial security. But unfortunately, I think that a lot of men think that financial stability suffices, and it doesn't. Now, I think there are two things at play. I think men over exaggerate women's concern with this. I mean, I think sometimes when they hear that finances are important, they black out everything else that's important. And I've seen this, it's not like, okay, just because I say that you have to have some level of financial security does not mean that's all you have to have. Other things are important too. And a lot of guys know that if they don't even have that, a lot of women won't even consider them. But that still doesn't mean that other things are important. I always say it's necessary, not sufficient. It's necessary that if you're a 30, 35-year-old man, that you have some financial intelligence, some security, some stability, and that you're at least working on growth, right? That's necessary if you're talking about being a husband and having a family, right? It's not sufficient. It
See,
seems like a couple things are going on. They're over exaggerating how much women care about that. And they're thinking, oh, they care about that, so that's all they care about. But I also think that women, Black women specifically, have kind of given into that. I remember a time back in like the 90s, everything was about, does he have a 401k? That was the thing. Women said that a lot. And I'm like, okay, well, are you really having a hard time finding a man with a job? Or are you choosing wrong? Because you can find a man with a job. What about other things? His character, how he treats him, how he treats how he treats other people, his lifestyle choices. These are the things that will really determine whether or not you should marry him. So I'm just wondering if, because women have focused so much on that, if it's changing the dating pool.
Okay, so I think that we have to separate a lot of these conversations along the lines of what is being said and the narratives that are being spun versus reality, right? I think that is a narrative. I don't see it play out in reality. I think it's a shaming tactic. I think it has been employed time and time again, because even if you say Black women do not put a focus on financial security when it comes to their mate. That's not even reality. Like, right? Like most of those households are 2-income households where both of those incomes are necessary for that household to run. Like if Black women was really out here prioritizing income, then if things would look a lot more different than what they look like. So the reality of it is that Black women are dating and marrying men who don't have this
average,
all this income and all of this money. That's the reality, right? The complaints that you're hearing, like I say, I think that a lot of that is just shaming due to insecurity, right? Like, because there is a conversation or a thought in society, right, socially, that says men should be the provider and, he should be able to do X, Y, Z. And if they can't do that, or if somebody can't do that, then what they gonna turn around? Oh, you just only want me for this. Like, you don't even have that. Like, what is going on? What's happening right now, right? And so, like, that's something that's always stated, but I just don't see that playing out in reality. And Black women are the only group of women that I ever see shamed for wanting to have finance. It doesn't make any sense to me, because on the one hand, it is being shamed for wanting to have some type of financial security with a partner. And then on the other hand, we're told that we're choosing wrong because we aren't not getting that financial security. You with a Pookie or a Ray Ray. Oh, but you want this man that got that. Like, what are you talking about? Like, either you're going to look at this criteria and you're going to look for this type of man, or what is the alternative? Like, who? Like that's what I mean. It's a moving goalpost. Like, it's this amorphous, just amalgamation of whatever that's just made up, right? Because it's like, what is a Pookie and Ray Ray? Is it a man who make this certain amount of money or don't have this type of job or whatever? It's like, that's what you're gonna, like, as soon as a woman gets with a man who maybe is not financially secure or whatever, anything that transpires, that's the first thing that's gonna be said. You need to choose better. You need to, and then we say, okay, I want to choose better. These are the criteria I want to look for. Oh, you do a gold digger. Look, you just want this stuff. It's like, you cannot win for losing. And I think that it's important not to put the responsibility of the dating scene or whatever. First, you can't put it on one person. And you also have to take into account that we are all responding to the environments that we find ourselves in. And we don't create the environments. Like, I don't raise these men out here. Like, so how is that to be like, because you didn't pick? Like, this is what is available. Like, this is what's available. This is what's around. This is what's next door. This is what's up the street. I didn't put it there. Like, I didn't do any of that. Like, I just was born and I grew up in the place, and this is what was around. Like, I didn't create that. So a lot of it is response, right? A response to the environment that you find yourself in. And I mean, that goes for everybody, but I just don't see how it's women's responsibility or women's cross to bear to say, oh, if you just choose this, from where? Like, what are you even talking about? Like, let's just all just work on being better in general, like everybody, men, women, everybody. Let's self-reflect and focus on being better instead of trying to put that responsibility on somebody else. Oh, I'll be better if you require me to be better. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I just wanted to highlight a fact, and I'm happy that, and when I asked this question, let me just side note, when I asked this question, I was thinking about some other things too, but we can talk about that later. But I'm happy that you are bringing out the narrative versus reality. Kevin Samuels and all of the Samuelites have people thinking that Black women are not choosing average men. He has all these women come on his show, and all of them whom some of which I think are paid to be there, want this above average man, right? Even let's say all of them were legit. They all got on this show talking about they want a man making $200,000 a year, $100,000 a year, etc. Let's say that was true. That's still not representative of all Black women. What's really happening is that in many homes, overall Black men are still breadwinners when they're when they are cohabitating with a woman, right? However, many of us date and marry average men. We date and marry average earners. So the narrative is that we don't want them. We're playing them to the left. But the reality is that no, we're not. We're not. We are marrying average earners. And a lot of times, Black women with a college degree, the American Progress Association says women with a college degree are the least likely to be breadwinners, whereas the likelihood of being a co-breadwinner increases along with education attainment. So, we tend to marry people in our own, socioeconomic bracket, and I'm going to try to find it, but a lot of times we're basically marrying people, that are in our socioeconomic bracket. So it's not like we're trying to get up here with, dating people 100 grand a year, 200 grand a year. The reality is that our households are average. Average women are dating average men. And so I'm happy that you brought that up. The narrative is always, oh, well, Black women care more. And there's an article that they like to use. Black women care more about financial security than white women. I was telling Jovo about this the other day. Of course they would care more because our wealth is significantly lower than the average white family. Significantly lower. So if I'm out here dating and you ask me how important is financial security in a spouse, I might think it's more important than a white woman whose wealth is already over 100 grand more than mine. You know what I mean? So it just makes sense. But I want to reject that narrative that we're like gold diggers and we only date men who are above a certain tax bracket. That's not the case for most of us. Most Black women love and dote on their average earning boyfriends, fiancés, and husbands. So, and I'm going to pull up the stats to say that in a second. But ladies, go ahead and chime in.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, can y'all hear me pretty good?
Mm-hmm.
Can y'all hear me? Okay. I my husband, blue collar. I'm the college graduate. For us, it's just about, and I love what Candace said about doing better. It's just about doing better. Us evolving. My husband is a mechanic. I'm a therapist. Um, he has his own, small business. He has a day job. I'm a therapist. I have a day job. I have my own small business. Um, it's about doing better and just. I think most Black women, we are adaptable. I think a lot of us out there are adaptable. I think a lot of us are willing to, if I'm doing better and I see you're doing better, and we date, we have something in common. Then you know what? Let's go. Let's do it. I don't think it's that. I think the men of the manosphere, and I think a lot of people are just complicating a lot of this stuff. I think they just complicate it. I think that on average, just like you said, Ashley, we appreciate average guys. Most of us want, average men, or we will adapt to that situation. But just because you're a woman of color and you want better, like say you are COO of a company and you want to date Mr. CEO, that doesn't make you a gold digger. That just makes you aware of what you want. Like, I don't know what's wrong with that. I don't know where did it become a crime for us sisters to know what type of man we exactly want and try to go out there and get him. Like, I don't understand why that's against the law. Like, I don't understand what's the problem with that. So I just think that we're adaptable. I think that we're more aware than what society says we are, and I think that a lot of us know what we want. Now, your question is how Black women get it wrong. I think that these pressures from society, and I think Cannon has brought it up in several different shows we've had. Like, there's this box that they want, we want to put everybody in, and I think that we get so focused on the box that there's this idea of perfectionism. Like if I don't fit this box or this person doesn't fit this checklist, then I'm doing it wrong. I do hear the feedback. Okay, can you all hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I think it stopped. Yeah, I think that going back to what I was saying, there's these boxes that we try to put everybody in, and I'm guilty of it as well. And these checklists. I remember when I went off to college, I had a checklist for my degree, and then I had a checklist. But if you do find him, this is what he need to be. And I had to throw away my checklist. Like, girl, stop. Like, that's just too much. So I think, how do we get it wrong? We try to fit into a box, and then we kind of have this agenda, this checklist that most of the time is not realistic. So, but I love what Candace said about why can't we just all just do better? And I think that Black women in general, we're looking for men who are evolving with us. Like, I'm doing better. Is he doing better?